2 not referred notices in one day. Ouch. 1 for Rota that I applied to 2 weeks ago, and 1 for Landstuhl, Germany that I applied to probably 2 weeks ago as well. And I'm not going to even lie to you. My ego felt that. Because when you're putting yourself out there over and over again, when you're applying, hoping, stretching, believing, visualizing, praying, and then the answer keeps coming back, no, it starts to mess with you a little bit. You start wondering, how many no's does it take to get a yes? Because for real, if somebody could just give me the number, I think I could handle it better. If they told me, Vanessa, it's going to take 27 no's before your yes comes, then at least I could count. At least I could pace myself. At least I could say, okay, I'm on number 14. I'm getting closer. But life doesn't work like that. And that's where faith gets tested. So today I want to talk about what it means to keep going when your ego is bruised, your timeline feels uncertain, and you're starting to wonder if you're behind. Because maybe, just maybe, you're not behind at all. Maybe you're being prepared. Hey y'all, I'm Vanessa and welcome to Ways of Change, where I document my journey of pivoting, pursuing overseas work, building a softer, more intentional life, and learning how to trust God in the middle of this transition. And today is day 77 of 100 days of me posting every day. So consider subscribing to join me on this whirlwind of a journey. Today, I got hit with 2 eligibles but not referred notices. 1 is for the position in Rota, Spain, and the other is for Landstuhl, Germany. Not 1, 2. And yeah, it stung. But then I applied for another role today. This one is a Supervisory Health System Specialist in Vilseck, Germany. So even with the sting, I put myself out there again. I also completed my engagement hour on LinkedIn, and I noticed something else too. My connection requests have slowed down a little bit. So next week, I need to be more intentional about outreach and putting myself back in motion. That's what the season is teaching me. You can feel discouraged and still be disciplined. You can feel disappointed and still decide to move. And today's message is really for anybody who feels like a dream, transition, or process is taking longer than expected. Let's start with the honest part first. Rejection doesn't just hit your plans, it hits your ego. Every time you apply for something, especially something you really want, there's a little piece of you attached to that application. It's not just the paperwork, it's the hope, it's imagination, it's possibility. It's you saying, I could see a different life for myself. So when the answer comes back not referred, it could feel personal. Ooh. Even when you know it's bureaucracy, even when you know it's competition, even when you know there are hiring preferences and systems and internal dynamics you can't see. But it still lands on your spirit like, dang, am I not enough? And that's the dangerous part. Because if you're not careful, you'll start turning a professional outcome into a personal identity. You'll start saying, well, dang, maybe I am too old. Maybe I waited too long. Maybe other people are more qualified. Maybe this dream just isn't for me. But a notice is not a prophecy. A rejection is not a definition. A closed door is not a final sentence over your life. Sometimes it's just information. Sometimes it's redirections. Sometimes it's timing. And sometimes it's simply proof that you had enough courage to try. And that counts too. Now let's talk about the question that probably so many of us wish we could get answered. How many no's does it take to get a yes? Wouldn't that be nice? If life came with a tracker, like a progress bar across the bottom of your screen. Congratulations, Vanessa. You're now 68% of the way to your breakthrough. Listen, I would love that, because uncertainty is hard. Not just rejection, uncertainty. The hardest part is not always hearing no. The hardest part is not knowing how long the no season will last. That's what wears people down. It's the not knowing. It's the waiting. It's the wondering whether the effort is actually building towards something. Or is it just draining you? But here's what I'm learning. You may never know how many no's it takes. But every no can still be doing something for you. Every no is building stamina. Every no is exposing what you really believe. Every no is asking, do you want the dream, Vanessa? Or do you only want the dream when it's easy? Because a lot of us love the idea of purpose, but purpose with rejection attached, purpose with delay attached, purpose with humility attached, that's a different kind of calling. And I think sometimes we think the yes is the reward. But sometimes the real reward is who you become while surviving the no's. One thing I've had to remind myself in this season is this: what is for me won't miss me. And no, that doesn't mean I sit back and do nothing. It doesn't mean I stop applying. It doesn't mean I stop networking. It doesn't mean I stop learning, refining, reaching, stretching. It means that after I've done what I can do, I refuse to torture myself over what I can't control. Because some of us are wearing ourselves out trying to decode every delay. Yeah. Trying to overanalyze every closed door. Trying to make sense of why this person got in and we didn't. Trying to force meaning out of every silence. And sometimes the answer is simply, that one wasn't yours. Not because you weren't good enough. Not because you weren't capable. Not because you weren't worthy. But because it just wasn't yours. And I know that sounds cliche, but when you've lived life long enough, you realize how true it is. There are things I begged for in one season that would have boxed me in if I had gotten them. There are doors I cried over that in hindsight would have taken me away from something better. Raise your hand if you agree. There are roles, relationships, and opportunities that looked good on paper, but were never aligned with the woman I was becoming. So now I'm learning to hold it differently. I apply with hope. I prepare with excellence. I believe with openness. But I also release with peace. Because what is for me won't miss me. But maybe that's the bigger lesson in all of this. Maybe the pain of rejection isn't just about the job. Maybe it's brushing up against something deeper. That old fear that somehow you're too late. That you should be further along by now. That maybe other people figured it out faster than you did. And that's exactly why I want to pause here and talk about something I think a whole lot of us need to hear. What if your timing isn't wrong? What if your path isn't delayed? What if there's actually power in blooming late? Being a late bloomer isn't a curse. It's not proof that you failed. It's not evidence that you missed your window. It's not some embarrassing footnote to your life story. Sometimes being a late bloomer means you had to live enough life to become the version of yourself that could actually carry the blessing. That's different. Some flowers bloom early. Some bloom later. That doesn't make one more valuable than the other. It just means they each have their season. And I think our culture has really done a number on us with this obsession over early success. Everybody wants to celebrate the prodigy, the 20-something millionaire, the person who made it by 25, the person who had the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect trajectory. But most real people are not living like that. Most real people are learning through detours, through responsibilities, through heartbreak, through raising kids, through divorces, through caregiving, through rebuilding, through career pivots, through survival, through seasons where they had to do what they had to do before they could do what they were called to do. That doesn't make you late. That makes you layered. That makes you seasoned. That makes you wise. And on the real, I'll take wisdom over speed any day. Here's what I think late bloomers have that early bloomers don't always get right away. You have perspective. You're not chasing everything anymore. You've lived enough to know that not every shiny thing is gold. You've had enough life happen to know what matters and what doesn't. You have resilience. You've been through enough setbacks to know how to recover. You may cry. You may need a minute. You may need a snack and a nap and a prayer. But you know how to wash your face and get back up. You have discernment. You don't just want any old opportunity. You want aligned opportunity. You want it with peace. You want it with meaning. You want it to make sense for who you are now. You have substance. You've built skills across seasons. You've worn different hats. You've led in rooms that don't always clap for you. You've carried responsibilities people never even saw. You have depth now. That matters. So when I get these not referred notices, yeah, they sting. But they don't erase the fact that I'm bringing decades of lived experience, leadership, grit, discernment, and faith into this process. I'm not entering this season empty, and neither are you. Now let me bring this back to today in a practical way. Yeah, I got those 2 not referred notices. I got my ego slammed a little bit. I had a moment, but I still applied for another position today. That counts. Because sometimes progress doesn't look like confidence. Sometimes progress looks like applying anyway. Sometimes progress looks like showing up while still discouraged. Sometimes progress looks like updating your documents one more time. That's not just motivation. That's strategy. And I think sometimes we underestimate how powerful that is. Not because everything comes easily, but because they observe, adapt, and keep it moving. Now, the scripture I want to anchor this episode in is this, Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. I know a lot of us have heard that scripture before. I've even included it in other episodes. But today, I want you to hear it through the lens of rejection, delay, and late blooming. It says, do not become weary. which means weariness is expected. Let's stop acting like strong people never get tired. Strong people get tired too. Faith-filled people get tired too. Disciplined people get tired too. Purposeful people get tired too. The scripture doesn't deny the weariness. It just tells you not to let weariness make your decisions. And then it says, at the proper time. Not your preferred time. Not social media's time. Not comparison's time. Not panic time. Proper time. Which means timing has a wisdom to it that we don't always understand while we're in it. And then that last part, if we do not give up. That's the part that puts some responsibility back into our hands. Keep going. Adjust, but keep going. Rest, but keep going. Cry if you need to, but keep going. Rebuild your confidence. Then keep going. Because the harvest may not be here yet, but that doesn't mean the ground is barren. Now I want to talk directly to the woman who feels behind. The woman who looks around and sees people getting opportunities, getting the relationships, getting the business growth, getting the move, getting the open door, while she's over here getting not referred. Listen to me now. You are not behind. You are in process. And process is not glamorous. It's not pretty. It's not always public friendly. You can't post it on Instagram. It doesn't always photograph well. But process is holy. Because process builds the woman who can carry the next chapter without self-destructing in it. So no, maybe you're not where you thought you'd be by now. Maybe the yes hasn't happened yet. Maybe the timeline is slower than what you wanted. Maybe your ego has taken a few hits lately. But none of that means you've missed out on your life. It just means your life is still unfolding. And unfolding takes time. So today, if you're in a season of no's, if you're tired of trying, if your ego has been bruised by delay, rejection, or silence, I want you to remember this. What is for you won't miss you. And just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not being prepared. Maybe you're not late. Maybe you're being built. Maybe you're being strengthened. Maybe you're being clarified. Maybe you're being positioned. Maybe you're becoming the kind of person who could sustain the yes when it finally arrives. And when it does, you're going to know it didn't just come to you. You grew into it. If this episode spoke to you, drop a comment and tell me, how do you keep going when the answer keeps being no? And if you're in your own late blooming season, I want you to say it out loud in the comments. I'm not behind. I'm being prepared. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back tomorrow for another day of Ways of Change. Because we're still moving, still believing, still becoming. And no matter how long it takes, your yes is still possible. Hey friend, thanks for rocking with me till the end today. I'm Vanessa, and this is Ways of Change. Bye.